Good evening, Yonkers. This is Freddie Vasquez here with Basement Politics presents the Citizens Report. Tonight, featured guest is Ron Matten, candidate or former candidate of the Yonkers City Council president, also a member of active member, I should say, of our community here. He'll be joining me tonight to discuss in further detail. So let's welcome Ron Matten. Basement Politics with Freddie Vasquez. Tonight, renewable energy. Let's talk about the renewable energy program that us residents will be automatically enrolled in unless they opt out. Joining me tonight is Ron Matten. Good evening, Ron. Good evening. How you doing?
Good evening, Fred. Good to see you.
Good. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you taking the opportunity or giving me the time today and coming on the show. I've had you on twice now. It's the third time. So I think you've been on the most. So you got a record there.
Well, thanks. I'm not on as a candidate now. I'm
No,
on
not as a candidate, but you are still, a very active member of the community here, very involved, and you have a lot of information. Something that I mentioned on the podcast before about you, Ron, that you're very knowledgeable and you have a lot to offer. You have a lot of ideas, and we've talked about them in conversations that we've had. And recently, you wrote an article in the Yonkers Tribune regarding the new renewable energy program that is being implemented by Sustainable Westchester. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, it's Sustainable Westchester in using Westchester Power, which went out to bid with Constellation. So you've got three layers on there besides the city of Yonkers. Constellation is an energy firm in Texas. They answered the bid and they were awarded the contract in January. I believe the former provider was Allegio Energy, and I'll go into detail and why I think this is so rushed at this point.
Well, really quick, let's start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit, because people are getting these letters in the mail. A lot of people are just throwing them out like they're junk mail, and even those who may even open them up may not fully understand what does this exactly mean for them.
All right, so I've actually been waiting for this to come about for a while. I was first alerted to Sustainable Westchester and Westchester Power. I would say about November of 2020. I'm on an app called Nextdoor, it's similar to Facebook for neighborhoods, and I was seeing a lot of complaints to Paul Feiner, the administrator for Greenberg, regarding the power program that was selected for Ardsley, Irvington, and those communities within Greenberg.
And just really quick, they have similar programs, correct?
They have a similar program. New Rochelle, there's a number of Westchester municipalities in it. You can probably go on Sustainable Westchester and see the full listing. In fact, I think Nome, Bramson is on the board along with Mike Spano for that. So the mayors of the major cities, I think they get board seats once they get their programs set up. But I saw a lot of complaints about that people felt they were paying more, so I kind of kept an eye on it. And then Yonkers started putting out notices that they were looking at moving to Sustainable Westchester Power, and having renewable energy as a provider. And this would be good for the environment, good for Yonkers' carbon footprint.
Now, how were these? Because one of the things that I've seen a lot of complaints were, and how people were notified. How were people notified?
I'm going to get to that. I just kind of want to follow the history of how we got there.
I'll let you go. Go ahead.
So this all relates to a program that was put out in 2016 by the Public Service Commission, and the Public Service Commission allowed this program to go forward. And it was an opt-in program. If you go through, there's about 40 pages to the Public Service Commission's document allowing this program. And they don't offer an opt-out program. They don't offer an opt-in program. They only offer an opt-out program. And that's the way the law is written. And there are requirements which Yonkers has kind of met. I mean, Yonkers has met the letter of law to implement this. So the council voted on March 9th, 2021, 5-2 to move forward with this program. Shortly after that, Mike Spano signed the legislation. It's part of the Yonkers Code at this point, and it allows Yonkers to sign up all of their residents who don't currently have an ESCO. An ESCO would be a private, another energy this is an ESCO. This is an ESCO with Constellation. And an ESCO is just an energy service company. Sorry, you're muted.
Most residents now currently have Con Edison, correct?
Yeah, if you have a floating rate, if you didn't sign up with an ESCO, you have Con Edison. That's the default if you don't sign up. The people who signed up, they have a contract. They have a standing contract with the company, so Yonkers can't offer them into contract with another company.
Right.
So that's really why they're not signed up, and they didn't get any letters. The requirement of the law is that for 60 days prior to the implementation of the program, that Yonkers hold public sessions. Yonkers did hold public sessions. They held many of those public sessions last year around the council vote.
And again, because this is something I hear a lot. How are these announcements made usually? Are they, mail, email, websites?
I saw them on Facebook.
Okay.
I did see the council president Cater at the time. He put out a number, and look, I had my eye to this because I saw the discontent that the Greenberg residents had.
Right.
So I was I was annoyed. I said, how is this possible that Yonkers can, and I called it slamming because that's what they used to call it, if some energy company came in and signed you up. So I was saying, how could Yonkers slam us? And I was vocal on Facebook when these notices came out. And again, it's not that I'm against the program. I'm just against the signing up. The government taking that liberty of signing us up.
Right. So they automatically enroll people unless you opt out. You're going to be automatically enrolled.
I'm going to get into the details of why I think this may have been mismanaged. And again, I'm going to speculate why I believe it was mismanaged. Last year, the provider was not Constellation. The provider was Allegio Energy, another ESCO firm. I looked up their rates. Allegio Energy's current rates are 20 cents a kilowatt, which is much higher than Constellation's rates. Constellation is actually providing not a bad rate, and not a bad rate for Yonkers residents.
And what is that rate, by the way?
I believe, and you'd have to look at the letter, but I think that rate, there was two plans. I think it was seven and change. I don't have the letter in front of me. And then for the 100% renewable plan was about 8.3, 8.4. I think I didn't, I'm one of those people on auto pay, so my bill just gets paid.
Yeah, me too.
And it just, I don't see the bill. And I'm not complaining about the program. I'm not complaining about using renewable energy. I'm complaining about just having this automatic sign up and having it so close in time with no real, I'm asking the council, which they're not going to listen to me, but I'm asking the council to vote to extend the enrollment period, to do another round of notifications and maybe implement this in April rather than implement this in February. We have a lot of snowbirds in Yonkers. They're down in Florida. Right. Their mail's up here. They don't know that their electric company is getting switched. And they're probably not using a lot of electric, so it's not going to be an impact to them. But it's just the idea that this can happen in this manner.
And also, there are people who threw the letter out, right, not realizing what it was, and then they tried to opt out, and now they're having problems.
Right, they thought it was another thing for the insurance for your water main or one of these other letters. So I'm gonna kind of get to that. What Allegio Energy's contract ended November 2021. So Sustainable Westchester, Westchester Power and Sustainable Westchester had no contract for a provider. So they went out to bid for new rates. Allegio wasn't competitive. They got a pretty good rate from Constellation, which became effective in January. Yonkers sent their letter out. So I don't think Yonkers was able to sign anybody up. Again, speculation from November to January. So Yonkers sees, okay, we've got a provider. They're on board. Let's run and let's do this and get it done now. So they send this letter out January 10th, which most people probably didn't get to the 12th, 13th, or 14th. And the letter has Constellation's information in the return. They have a little seal, Yonkers seal, where when you hold the envelope and you take your thumb and you put it on the envelope, you're covering up the Yonkers seal, so you don't see it if you pick.
Right.
If you're picking the envelope up, you've got your thumb.
Right. You missed it. You may miss the seal. Right. And
Right.
many people like me, we just used to getting junk mail because most of like you, I have auto pay. We pay everything online.
Yeah.
So,
So
you know,
I get very few bills at home. But older folks, I'm older now, but
Right.
still older folks, they get their bills by mail and everything. So these things came in, probably got in the mailbox between the 12th and the 14th. Many people threw it out. They thought it was another water insurance program or something else, or I see you see a seal, you think maybe you got hit by a red light camera, but many people threw it away.
Right.
So I wrote this letter. I wrote this article rather on Yonkers Tribune. I also sent it to the Yonkers Times, but I didn't get a response from them because I wanted people out there to know that there's something that came in the mail that you shouldn't just throw away
Right.
and what its implications are. So if you don't sign up, if you don't opt out by February 9th, you're going to be automatically signed up. Now you can opt out at any time. That's, I believe, the program we're in. But some of the complaints that were coming from the Greenberg residents is they were trying to opt out. It was taking 3 or 4 months to opt out.
Wow. Really?
Oh, well, and I guess, this is a small office in Mount Kisco, I think. They're getting inundated with telephone calls. It's one thing when you sign up Irvington, or you sign up Scarsdale. It's a whole other thing when you sign up, a city of 230,000 residents, which probably account for, I'm going to say, residential, 150 residential accounts. So they're inundated with phone calls.
Yeah.
I tried to call them to let them know I'm writing this article. I want to verify some information before I do, and I never got a call back from them to this day. So that was, I wrote the article over a week ago, I guess.
Well, that's not reassuring. What if you have a complaint or you have some questions?
Oh yeah,
or
they're not set up. And look, I'm not complaining about
right.
the rate. I'm not complaining about green energy. I even think it's not a bad thing to lock in a rate. Energy prices are on a steady rise, and I don't see. I think we've had 7% inflation over these last couple of months. So but gas prices, I'm paying nearly $4 at the pump, and they went down a little bit. Unfortunately, you and I have to put premium in.
Yeah, I paid. I think it was a $4.40 something. I paid last time I got gas a day or two ago. And I wanted to ask you though, also a reason why I wanted you on the show, because again, you're very knowledgeable, and I wanted to ask you specifically about I was reading up on it, and it said that it may not all, I see there's a 100% renewable option. Now, is there another option that doesn't use 100%? Maybe there's like 10%, and then the rest is fossil fuels.
So the standard option, if you will, doesn't guarantee any renewables. Maybe they'll use
really?
them, maybe they won't. That's my understanding. Again, nobody, look, I've signed up with an ESCO before. When you sign up with an ESCO, you get a contract. You know your terms. I don't have any of that
Right.
because that didn't come in the envelope. Excuse me. Did you throw yours out, or did you keep yours?
I really don't even check the mail. That's
All
my
right.
wife's job.
I can scan mine over to you just so you have a copy.
And we're the type that usually kind of go with the flow. Like we just we got a new energy company. Okay, all right, what's the bill?
Well,
All right, whatever, pay that.
So I happen to have Constellation at work. My employer has a contract with Constellation, but we've got a number of programs with them. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not against the program. I'm just against that the way the Public Service Commission
Right.
wrote the law, you can opt in. You can opt in at any time. You opt out now, you can go back in 3 months, see what the rate is, and opt in. And that's kind of what I'm doing. I want to see. I opted out. That's my personal
Right. And I was
choice.
going to ask you. I know that you opted
Right.
out. You mentioned that in the article.
Right. I do have photovoltaics on my roof. So, if you want to criticize me that I don't want to go with green energy, 75% of my electric bill is covered by my photovoltaics. So I consider now I bought it. I bought my system. Yes, the government paid for part of my system. It made it reasonable to buy my system.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
that's a a help that they were given in order to encourage people to do that, which is a good thing, I think, right? Not a
yeah,
bad
yeah.
idea.
So I took advantage. Being a
Yeah,
homeowner, I
why
took
not?
advantage of that, and it was about a 5.5 year payback for me.
Right. Yeah, why not? Now, well, the reason why, again, I know you said you're not criticizing, and I'm not either. I just wanted to give the information out there. Some people may want to enroll in this because they hear green energy, right, or renewable energy, and they say, "Oh, yeah, sign me up, automatically enroll me because I want to contribute to, green energy, the use of green energy, and everything that's coming, up with the, the climate change and everything
Right.
like that." But I wanted to, and reading this, I learned that some of it may not be renewable energy. It may be only a certain percentage of it that's renewable energy. And then now you're saying the standard may not even use renewable energy at all.
Right.
So
I
this
don't
is
think
just something if those folks may want to know.
right. They do. In reading about it, they do say a portion of it may be green. They don't or renewable. I'm sorry, not green,
Right.
renewable. They don't stress how much, what's the minimum. Um, so, and there are, if you go on the, I think the mayor sent an email today. Everything he's accomplished in a week. So I think he's talked about it. They have added some more sessions in. My article encouraged the um, the council to consider pushing that sign up date because this is very rushed. We had a lot of information sessions a year ago. So we did a lot of things a year ago, anticipating joining on. Nothing happened. People forgot all about
Right.
those information sessions. You should have sent the letter, given us 60 days, and then had some more information sessions set up. Additionally, you could have done robocalls. All right, during the campaign, right? Not so
I
much
was
on the
I was gonna
Republican
say that
side,
there were robocalls during the campaign, right?
but the Democrats were getting before the primaries, they were getting calls out, mailings out, and
Right.
everything out.
Well, it all depends on what information they want you to know, right? So if it's, that information that they, in regards to what they were saying in the robocalls, that they wanted as many
Right.
people to
And,
know
and look,
about.
I'm not claiming anything nefarious
Right.
was done here. I'm just saying, as usual in the city of Yonkers, this was poor planning.
Well, right, and then but that does, and me, I'm going to say it, right? That leads me to think, all right, so why did they do it in that way, in that manner, without fully informing people, or at least making sure that the people were fully informed in this process, and then also when it comes to the price, this is a fixed price, and the one of the what's touted about this is that they can negotiate the pricing, right? Now you said this company from Texas. Now, who is the company, right?
Well,
And
Constellation is a huge energy company. It's not.
okay.
There's nothing. There and a lot of the energy companies and ESCOs are down in Texas.
Well, because
Um,
my concern was, is there someone that has a connection, and maybe that's why they choose this
I
company,
no,
and, and should we be concerned with the pricing?
I don't think, like I said, the pricing's not bad. I went around and I looked at some of the ESCOs. I said, maybe I do want to lock in. Let me see if I can get a better rate, and I couldn't.
Right.
I didn't see a better rate out there. A better residential rate than what was being offered. So I'm not complaining about the program. I think the program's on the up and up. I think Constellation. Um, as I said, I work for New York Medical College. Constellation is our energy provider. I've got 1 million square feet, as well as a 600 resident dormitories. So Constellation is our provider for all of that.
I'm going to get to something here, Carolyn Elizabeth Marie. The mayor should send out a letter now explaining the program and letting people know how they can opt out. It is his responsibility to the people to be transparent. Sadly, the odds of that are small, so people need to know they can call Con Ed with their account number and put a block on their account.
Right.
What
That
does she
is
mean
true.
by that?
I have heard that. Uh, our community leader here. I'm a member. I live in Colonial Heights. I'm a member of Chat, and Chat put out an email a few days ago, about a day ago, saying that if you can't find the letter, you can lock your account so you can't get switched.
Oh, okay. All right.
And that was the letter that came out from Colonial Heights Association of Taxpayers, Chat.
And now, Ron, you're very active. You're very involved, and the fact that you're staying on top of this, and you have been since 2020, as you mentioned. What would you really want the people to know about this program? What do you think that, if anything else, what's important for them to understand about this?
Well, so it is a chance for fixed energy. I don't like I said, it's not a bad rate from what I've researched. Um, but you need to make the choice. I've been working on a floating rate because the floating rate over the last 3 to 4 years has been cheaper. Um, but energy prices change. Energy prices can go up. So I don't want to make a recommendation because I
Right.
don't want there to be pitchforks outside of my house when somebody's bill goes up 45, $50. It's really your choice. It's like any other commodity. Um, it's think of it like the stock market. If you think energy's low, you want to buy now so you'll get a fixed price. If you think energy's going up, um, you're going to want to, sorry, if you think energy is going to go up and it's low, you want to buy now. If you think energy is going to float and go back down, then you're going to be locked in.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I generally do that with oil contracts too. You can lock in your oil prices. I don't do it personally for my home, but for my businesses that I've been involved with, you'll buy energy, how many gallons you think you'll burn over the course of a winter, and then you'll lock in a price by buying a energy futures contract.
In my
And that's
experience, using oil, and locking in a price, I've actually paid more, and that's
yeah,
when
you,
I've
you
used
you
oil
will
for my.
you will pay more. Now when I do it for a company, it's a little different. We get a better rate locking
Right.
in. And the benefit of locking in is your risk. All right.
And
You
I and
can
and I think maybe locking in might be good for those who anticipate or know that they will use a lot of energy, right? And that they're usually
well,
consuming a lot.
it's not even that. It's just knowing your risk. If I want to budget and I know that, okay, I spend, $200 a month on my Con Ed and I can budget for that and lock in the rate and I'm comfortable with that, that's fine. If I want to figure, okay, well, right now, look, last time I looked at my bill, it was 5.5 cents. It's not the major portion of your bill. Remember that the major portion of your bill is the transmission charges. Con Ed is still going to be maintaining the wires, maintaining the poles, maintaining the transformers that provide the electricity.
So you'll still have those charges.
You have those charges, and those are separate. That's not part of this contract. And same thing with Con Ed. I'm buying my kilowatt hour at 5.5 cents from Con Ed, but the majority of my bill is Con Ed's maintenance on the lines. They come by. You probably see the tree trimmers out there. They were doing maintenance on the telephone poles. This fall, they were digging
Right.
around the base. So all that is the maintenance charge to Con Ed, and the Public Service Commission approves those rates as well. But I think the real difference is here is we're probably only talking about $40 a month, depending on what your bill is. And if you live in an apartment, it'll be less, obviously.
Now, you said that the distribution, as you mentioned, of the energy will still be done by Con Edison. It'll be using their infrastructure. Does the what is it, Constellation? Are they paying a fee to utilize their infrastructure? And does
No,
that
not. We're paying the fee to utilize the infrastructure.
okay? So right,
Right,
well, I was gonna say. So then, does that fee, if they are, get passed down to the
right.
consumer, right?
Right. So here's just an interesting tidbit as well. So the minimum, I forget what it is now, maybe $19 is the minimum account charge. There was a time when, before I added air conditioning onto the house and a couple other things that I didn't have any bill with my photovoltaics. Uh, so I was just paying the $19 minimum charge. If you think about that, you're paying, because that $19 has to do with the transmission. So I'm not paying for the maintenance of the lines to the house. You're paying for that if you don't have photovoltaics, because my meter runs backwards when the sun's out.
Mm.
So that means I'm not paying. I'm not racking up the transmission charge to maintain the lines.
You
So
and you're talking about the solar panels, right? That you have. Is that
right,
we
right.
so and you
Photovoltaic.
actually can make some money from that, right? If you store.
Well, not entirely. So if it's a 1-to-1 rate when my meter runs backwards, but you only get about 10. If you produce more energy than you use, you only get 10% of the value of that energy that you produce. So it's really they don't make it desirable
Right.
to run backward. To produce more than you use.
Yeah. So, well, Ron, look, I appreciate that. Is there anything else? I just wanted to talk a little bit about that because I've been seeing that on Facebook, and I saw you wrote the article in the Yonkers
Right. So
Tribune, and you had some information
right,
there.
the article's on the Yonkers Tribune. I did put, as I said, I did put it out to a couple of different venues, but only the Yonkers Tribune picked it up. I encourage you to read it. What's come out since I wrote the article is you can lock your account. I haven't verified that, but I don't have any reason to doubt that. So if you can't find the letter, lock your account. If you don't want to switch, it's your choice. Look at it, look at the rates, decide if it's something you want to do. And of course, renewables cost a little more, and you may want to go for that a little bit extra on that. That's your choice, how you feel.
And there you have it. From Ron Matten himself, very
So
smart
there
guy,
is
very knowledgeable. So I trust what you say. Actually,
okay.
I do. But I know you got some stuff that you also wanted to talk
Right.
about, right?
There's one more thing I want to talk about, and I
Yeah.
believe it's
It could be two more things, Ron. I'm here for you. So.
okay. So 6:30, there's a public hearing to go give comment. City Council in the council chambers. 6:30 this Tuesday, January 25th. They want to do an amendment to the capital plan. What that means in plain speak is they want to borrow more money. So they're looking to borrow about another $6.8 million. They cite that for police equipment. They want to build a shed or a storage garage for park equipment. Hold on, I've got the agenda here.
Is
They
it going
want
to
to
look
replace.
anything like that big shed they had there in Nepperhan, that big white shed?
It could be. It could be. They've got two. They've got in here $700,000 to construction of a Butler building is what they're calling it.
A Butler building.
This
And
is
where will they build that at?
It was in the. I'll have to go back. I didn't print that part of the agenda out, but I can send you an email on that. They want to do general parks improvements for $100,000. I'm sorry, planning improvements. I don't know what that is. Planning general park improvement. Oh, they want to plan for general park improvements for $100,000. So they want to hire an architect or a landscape architect, I would imagine, and then the
Is that
general
Joseph
park
Hernandez?
improvements for 884,000.
I'm sorry, 484,000 for what?
884,000 for general park improvements.
Now, let me ask you, Ron. Park. It seems like a lot of money is being spent to improve parks. Which, listen, I'm not against
Well,
improving the
and that's
parks.
fine.
What my
So,
question is, though, wasn't that something the developers were, or they were seeking
well, and
developers
again, the
to?
developers may be doing that in a certain section of the city. I'm kind of looking at this is the overall plan. Let me just go through. They
Yeah.
want to put in electric charging stations, 240,000. They want to improve the Will Library, which they just did a whole big project over there, another 200,000. A boiler replacement at the Hudson River Museum, 600,000. $2 million in police equipment, scanners, including hardware and software.
Wow.
Um, Another 1.5 million for, I'm sorry, for scanning equipment, another 625 for security equipment. They don't have details on this. So
Yeah,
this
I'm
this
curious, really.
amounts
Go ahead. I'll
to
let you finish, and
yeah,
I'll talk
this
about.
amounts to $6,850,000 of an interim appropriation. So I'm going to go up on Tuesday and speak against it only
Wow.
because the budget process starts in 2 months. We're 7 months into the fiscal year. The fiscal year starts July 1. let's have some transparency and let's put this into the next fiscal budget. Let's not ask for more money because we didn't know how to plan. Look, I like Steve Sansone. A lot of this money is to parks. I think Steve's doing a good job, but this should have been presented last time. John Mueller should have presented, there's $3.5 million, actually $4 million of this, $6 million is police equipment.
Right, and that's what I was going to ask. What equipment is it that they need? What are they seeking to purchase? Spend so much money on? I know they recently got some body cams. There was a whole issue
Yeah,
with
well, the
that.
body cams was taken care of. I don't know. This could be cars. I'm not sure what this is yet. I got to delve a little further into it. But regardless of what it is, it should have been planned last year for full transparency, and they shouldn't be coming back and asking to borrow another $6.85
6.85.
million. And the point of this again is this is, I'm not blaming the mayor or the council. This is the department heads who didn't figure out what they needed. So the department heads didn't do their job last year. We should wait. We should put it into the budget for full transparency, and then move forward. Yonkers will tell you. I just saw a post that Yonkers was upgraded by Moody's, their credit rating, which means their bonds is better. The only reason that happened is because they got a windfall of COVID funds. It didn't happen because anybody did their job properly. It happened because we got a windfall of COVID funds. If we were downgraded 2 years in a row before getting the COVID funds because we borrowed too much. Thomas DiNapoli, the New York State Controller, has criticized Yonkers for borrowing too much, for putting too much, for depending too much on bonds.
Yes.
Look, we borrowed $5 million 2 years ago for books.
He also mentioned in one of his, his assessments that he on the budget or finances here in Yonkers of the overspending on police overtime and fire overtime. In the report, it said they were going over the budget by $3 and $4 million on overtime.
That's a management issue. That.
My thought on that, would it be a better idea to maybe if there is a need for more police officers to patrol certain times, to hire more police officers?
I think Yonkers needs more police officers. I think for a city our size, here's the balance on overtime when you're doing a budget. For a job like police, pension is probably 48% of your cost. So let's say a police, I'm making up numbers. Let's say a police officer makes $100 an hour. Another $50 is added on to that for the benefits, pension, union dues, health and welfare, health insurance, all that
clothing
stuff.
allowance and stuff.
Yeah, clothing allowance, all of those things are added on. So whatever you're paying a municipal employee is generally 1.5 times. So it's almost equivalent to overtime. And I've always had a problem with too much overtime because it's the law of diminishing returns. The quality of the work, you put 40 hours in, you work hard, you do your job. You put 50 hours in, you're probably still doing a good job. But if you're putting 65 hours in, those last maybe 10 to 15 hours, you're not doing as good a job. You're tired. And it's also a safety concern when you have somebody work so much overtime that, they're not as alert as they should be, not just for police, for any organization.
Right. I don't want to seem like we're picking out police here.
Right. So it's a fine line. It's really a fine line on not just managing the overtime for the city coffers, but managing overtime for the health and welfare of the employee, that you're not sending somebody out there for 80 hours a week. And I get it. We're going to have overtime now with COVID. People are out there because people are homesick or people are home quarantined. So, I had COVID earlier this month. I work from home. I have a job where I can work from home. I prefer to be on site, but they didn't have to film. I'm not an hourly employee.
Right. They didn't have to fill your spot in with someone while you were out.
My plumbers, my HVAC techs, my carpenters, when they're out, I got to have somebody else on.
Right. Right.
So
Well, yeah, that was just something that I noticed because I have read some of the, the budget or reviews or that the assessments that the state comptroller makes, and that was one of the things that just kind of stuck out to me. And also what you mentioned, the dependency on state and federal funds.
yeah, there's those one-time hits that Yonkers depends, and we've gotten lucky with that. It's the one-time hits. Look, I'll commend Senator Cousins. I believe we got some more Senator Cousins and Senator Mayer. We got some more foundation aid coming down. Hopefully, that can take care of some of the inequities within our schools. Yeah, the one
Also,
thing that
Congressman Bowman, I believe, is bringing some money. Or he's trying to get
okay,
some money. He's made some mention of that.
the one thing that Yonkers is really missing from being a really great place to be is the school system. It's not, I know young folks, who have young children who move to White Plains because it's just a
Yeah.
better school system, and the taxes weren't that much more.
Well, that's the thing. So, I recently spoke about Mike Breen on a podcast the other day, and one of the things, it was an article that an article he was in WAG magazine where he touted, this the casino and having MGM Grand or Yonkers be allowed to do an open casino, I guess, where it's not just machines, the computerized, it's full
Yeah,
gaming, and the idea is to bring money in for schools, right? But wasn't that the idea with Empire Casino initially came
well,
to you?
yeah. So I know we've as a party, as a Republican Party, for years we've been complaining that I don't know, something like eight. I couldn't tell you how many millions go up, and those millions don't come back down.
Right,
Yonkers never got the million. So I don't know, what Councilman Breen, um, Councilman Moranti, Council President Cater at the time has worked out that these things would come down. I don't know. I don't know what the senators have worked out. Um, there was a very the foundation aid formula um, is largely based on the grand is largely based on the taxes that Yonkers collects.
right,
It's called the grand list. And because of Yonkers' situation where we are situated to New York City and everything else, our tax rolls are pretty high compared to um, similar districts like Syracuse and Buffalo. Syracuse and Buffalo, we have a 78% of our students are on free and reduced lunch.
right.
Um, so our student population is very different than the Yonkers population. And that's largely, you can go back to the Judge Sands desegregation ruling from 1988. I'm
Right.
gonna guess that we didn't, and we didn't quite fully abide by it. Most of the schools are still on the west side, so we did busing. We didn't build a lot of new houses. We didn't build all the new housing stock that was required for the desegregation law, but somehow that all got smoothed over. Um,
And probably was through busing, but I was one of those children I was bused all the way to North Broadway, School 16, from the
well, and what
Southwest
what
side.
happens? I wrote an article years ago about the benefit of community schools, um, and the idea of a community school is it becomes the center, the hub of your
Right,
community. But you have to look at the school on the west side needs to be equal to the school
right.
on the east side in order to
And
do that.
and how do we get there? I mean, is gambling the answer?
Um, I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. I'm kind of afraid to go on my phone and gamble. I'm afraid I might win and like it.
I've
Uh,
never gambled. I never win, so I learned
right.
not to like it very early on.
Yeah. So Mickey Rourke. I'll tell you a quick gambling story in a minute. But Mickey Rourke, who was a notorious gambler, he said, "I only gambled once in my life. I spent the rest of the time trying to win that money back." Uh,
That's it. That's how it usually goes.
yeah. Yeah. So
I
I
have no
did.
people that have gambling habits.
My ex-wife used to work at the Herald Statesman Journal News, which was on Yonkers Avenue, way back in the same building as the office of Smith, Buss and Jacobs.
Yeah, 7:30. That's right. That's right.
Right.
7:30, I believe.
Famous address.
Yes, yes.
So we were dating, and I used to go pick her up. Um, she got out late. I think she wrote obits or something at the time. So one day I figured, you know what? I bought the Daily News or the Post or whatever it was. and I looked at the harness racing, and everybody was picking. So I'd go over to Yonkers Raceway. I did this about 3 times. First 2 times I won money. I didn't know anything about racing. I just went and I picked what everybody else picked. The third time, um, the jockey fell off of the chariot or whatever they call the thing. So the
It,
horse won, but it didn't count
it didn't
because
count. He didn't
the
bring the
jockey was no
rider.
longer there.
The
So I
jockey.
said, you know what? There's too many risks with this. I'm done. That was my life again. But but
Yeah,
it's
I've
easy to
never
get
won.
addicted.
I've
You win a
never,
couple times.
I always joke. I said that I'm only, I'm gonna have to work to earn my money. I'm never gonna win. So I don't play the lotto. I don't do scratch off cards. To me, it's a waste of my money. I don't really like doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the idea of, gambling and, to bring in money to the city, especially in these economic times where people may get addicted, but people also may be in desperate situations where they may go and gamble the little bit of money that they do have, causing further problems for people.
So
That's just
it's
my concern. I think it's just going to perpetuate more problems.
so the old adage goes, when you hit rock bottom and you can't provide for yourself, you turn to making book or selling drugs. We've done
Right.
both here in New York State, you
Right.
know, with the
I
marijuana. So it's look, if it brings in revenue, there is a certain amount of money in these bills to allow for gambling addiction. So hopefully that's an earnest amount of money, and it's an earnest program.
yeah.
Um,
Well, we
and
didn't opt out of the marijuana. Making
we
marijuana.
didn't. So the marijuana worked the same way as the community choice program. You had to actively opt out. So we didn't opt out. So we are opted in. And I'm not opposed to that.
No, I'm not either.
But I
That I'm
think
not.
what the council needs to do is now draft some legislation on what is a requirement to open a dispensary. That
You mean
that
just not opening up a bodega?
Right. So you've got to, what constitutes a legal dispensary in in
Selling purses
in,
on North
in that,
Broadway
well,
doesn't constitute a.
yeah. Well, so
These are inside
we're,
jokes,
we're
Ron.
not just gonna we're not just gonna open up in the back room of a bodega, or but that there is a that the when we're so far from a school, what
Right.
can be displayed in the window, how far we are from, I don't know if houses of worship matter to some people, but these need to be debated topics
Right.
to determine where in Yonkers these belong. And I think we should limit it for the first year and say, look, we're going to allow 4. And how many, we want to make sure that people have equal opportunity in this. So you don't want the same person owning all 4 or own all 5.
Right.
The point of the bill
It's
was
an
to
expensive
provide some
business to get into.
equity from those people who were affected when the marijuana laws were in. So we want to make sure that we also comport with the bill, and that it's just not somebody's owning a 49%. You know, some white guy in Beach Hill doesn't own 41%, 49% of all the dispensaries, and he's got some face out in
Oh,
the
I can
front.
see that happening very easy. I mean, it's going to be a tough business to get into. It's like one of those businesses that the barrier of entry is difficult because of the amount of cash outlay that you will have to, come up with in order to enter it, get the licenses and all that stuff. It's like alcohol, right? It's like $1 million or more for an alcohol
Yeah. Well, we
license.
already we already have a medical dispensary that's owned by a mother and daughter on Main Street, I think.
Oh, is it? I thought that was owned by the Spano. Someone told me.
Well, there's a mother and daughter
That's
on
what
the
the.
paper. I don't know who
Okay.
they're related
That
to
was
or
the
who their
rumors.
name is,
It's
but
been
there
there
is a
for a while.
dispensary. And I looked it up when the law came out because it's a medical dispensary. It's
Right.
not it's not for
Right.
recreational use. But I was kind of curious, and it's a mother and daughter, and uh, don't know how they got into it, or where they got funded, or you know I don't know.
Gambling is going to cause major problems. John Morrison, how you doing? Gambling is going to cause major problems: mental health, crime, and homelessness. Yeah, those are issues that we actually have here in the city of Yonkers now.
Well, if you look at these commercials for these apps, it's
Yeah, you have a lot of celebrities now.
we'll give you up to $1,000 in your account for your first bet.
Yeah,
We'll match you up to $1,000. So right there, that's to get the person in the door.
right. Now, and I mean, I don't agree with the gambling.
Well,
I think there's other ways, and we have these developers that are getting huge tax breaks, and primarily these tax incentives that they're getting are on property taxes. So to me, it's like you're giving them tax breaks, right? And I get it. You want to incentivize them to come here. and then so we have to find something else like gambling in order to supplement the income. That's what
Well,
it
and
appears
again,
to
I don't
be, and
know.
then we don't get the income because nothing really changes, right?
Right, I don't know how much of the income we're going to get. This is going to the state. The income's going to the state. On the
So then why
marijuana
is Mike
bill.
Breen so happy about it?
Oh, well, I'm not gonna. I'm really trying not to criticize any of the council people at this point. I'm criticizing. I'm trying to criticize as a whole. Um,
Well, I'm
so
just asking because in the article that I read, Mike Breen was interviewed, and he mentioned it. That's where I read it and
okay,
I learned about it, and
and
he
again,
seemed to be pretty,
yeah,
excited about it. And it's not about Mike Breen specifically. It's just more about the idea of bringing gambling as a source of income for the city, especially when we're giving breaks and giving away money in a sense in other areas.
well, so yeah, and Freddie, we met at Paxos one day and we talked about development and everything else. And my views. I really think the city needs to put together a community plan of development that all the communities can have, a voice in and decide what should be in their areas and what shouldn't be in their areas. Look at the infrastructure, the sewers, the stormwater, uh, and decide if we have the infrastructure to support that, rather than just all of a sudden building these mega buildings.
Yeah.
Um,
How do you
so
feel about the development on Grassy Sprain? I know that there's some development going on there, Grassy Sprain Road.
oh,
That's
you
District
mean
5,
the
correct?
UPS?
No, they're doing like the townhomes or something, the duplex homes, I believe, that are going up on Grassy Sprain Road. There was
I haven't seen anything on that. I know there was a developer back behind Homefield. There was a pool club or whatever that a developer was coming in there and buying, and they were looking at changing zoning. Um, to be able to put multifamily, duplex kind of townhomes over there. There's a whole plan of whether they would exit onto that road that comes onto Costco.
Hmm.
So it would be back behind, Stu Leonard's,
Yeah.
Costco, and the road where they were going to empty the road.
Yeah, that's where the tennis thing is there. It's like a little tennis
Yeah.
club.
So I don't know about the ones on Grassy Sprain. I didn't see that. Look, I'm very concerned anytime that we change zoning laws. Um, if you're a homeowner, you bought your house. I bought my house. I think I have um, an S75 here, which means I'm a single family on a 75-foot lot. Um,
Right, and
and
that's what they're wanting to do in Grassy Sprain area. They want to change it from a S60 or maybe bring it to a S60, something like
well,
that.
there's another code. I have to
Right,
again look it up. There's a different code for multifamilies, but um, so you're like the council voted. The old Toys R Us
right.
on.
Yes.
So they're going to turn that into a garage for car rental, where they can store cars. I don't think that they needed a change for that because it's a business district B, and apparently car storage was not allowed in that. I'm not opposed to that. It's set back. It's by nobody's house.
Yeah.
You're going to file the fire code will be followed in there. I think that's a good use of a building that probably couldn't get rented out anymore. But you have to take
I'm sorry, is
all.
that a car rental? You said like a
Yeah, so
Enterprise or Hertz
Enterprise
Enterprise?
Rent a Car. Raymore and Flanagan is in there now,
Yes,
the old
Raymond,
Toys
yes,
R
that's
Us.
right.
So they don't have a use for it anymore. I think Enterprise bought it. They want to put a car rental place in there, be able to store I have a couple car rentals in Yonkers, so they
Yeah,
want to be able to store the cars there
I
so they're
got
not
you.
in the lots.
Yeah, I
And
got
I
you.
think that's a good
Yeah,
use.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
the council, I believe, voted to change that law. I think that was a good use of zoning. Um,
Yeah, it's better than
the
it being empty there on Central Avenue,
Right.
right?
The UPS on Tuckahoe, which was originally a warehouse for Saks Fifth Avenue, I think, and then Pop Displays bought it, and then they moved. I don't think that was the best location because now you're taking these UPS tractor trailers and you're putting them on Tuckahoe Road,
Yeah.
going out for a while, and,
Yeah,
and the
and that's a
traffic's
little
bad
dangerous
enough.
area, right by
Right.
McDonald's there.
Yeah.
I've
Right.
seen several accidents actually right there because people always want to make that left when they're not supposed to. I wanted to, Carolyn Marie had a question. Keep in mind this year redistricting districts will be changing. Tell me a little bit about that. Have you
Yeah,
thought
so
about that?
I can only tell you what I've heard second to third hand, and this is, I'm on the Yonkers, I'm part of the Yonkers Republican Executive Committee, um, so I get it from there. But I understand it's still a process. We have to wait and see how the assembly districts and everything else will look. I don't know the council's appetite. There's a commission. I believe there's two Republicans on it, Mike Breen and Justin Tuviolo. And then I don't know the Democratic appointees to it. So, they're going to negotiate back and forth. It'll be the redistricting commission will present it to the council, present it to the mayor, and see if they sign off. Um,
And I believe
so
that's going to be impacting like District 4. They're going to.
I don't know. I don't want to put anything out there that might be false. And again, so what I get is second to third hand. You've got an audience these days.
Yeah.
So I think if I were to put out speculation, it might be irresponsible.
No, no, I understand. I completely understand. I'll look into that as well. Maybe we'll talk about that at some later point. Ron, I hear a lot about you, right? A lot of people like you. They do. A lot of people have said a lot of good things about you. Yeah, even Democrats, right? You're a Republican, but a lot of Democrats have said a lot of good things about you. They said you had a good showing in the race, the election in this past November, and you did well. Specifically for someone who's new to Yonkers politics, how do you, I don't think you took that as a loss, and you shouldn't have, because I
No,
mean, it definitely was
look,
a win in a sense for you.
I didn't have a machine behind me. It was many times it was just, my wife was my photographer. So many times, and it's funny. Even the council president and I went back and forth on a post dealing with this community aggregation plan. And she even, said, "Well, say hello to your wife," because my wife was my third arm on the
Yeah, she
campaign
was
trail.
always with you there. She's
Yeah.
always.
So she was great, and I had a couple of friends in the neighborhood who helped me out, um, and I had a few people from the party. You met, I think, Al Velade,
Yes.
who was helping. He was helping me with the Latin vote. And that was really it. It was probably about, no more than 6 people at any one time, and most of the time less. My wife and I driving around midnight. I know you made a comment about I only had signs in District 5.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Um, you can probably talk to some of your listeners. In my best showing was in the Ninth Ward, which is John Rubo's area.
Oh,
Uh,
really? Fourth
so
district.
I had a lot of support. I did concentrate over there because I figured John didn't have much of a challenger, so I was trying to motivate people to come out and vote.
Right.
Um, I did have signs up in Southwest Yonkers, but they kind of disappeared pretty quickly.
Mm.
So they got taken down, particularly the ones along Rumsey Road down to McLean. But I did have a lot of support in Southeast Yonkers, um, and really there weren't a lot of private homes to put signs once you get out of the Park Hill
Right.
area of Yonkers.
Right.
So look, I met a lot of people. I have you know I have a lot of respect for some of the folks on the council that I met, even the folks across the aisle, and I think that people felt I was somebody that they can work with. So, I've heard rumors I'm running for the fifth council district.
Well, I've probably said that, and maybe if.
And people have asked me. I'm not counting it out. Um, I have to make sure my third arm. It was a toll on my wife.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I would
I'll
imagine.
tell you something about our water bill. So last year our water bill was about $425. Um, well, I pulled my wife away from gardening this year, so our water bill was about $225.
Oh, wow.
So
I'm glad
we
my
already,
wife never got good at it. She tried it, but she was spending more money buying plants and stuff because they kept dying. I said, honey.
my wife's in a seed club, so she gets seeds sent. They harvest
Yeah.
their seeds at the end of the year, and they send them around. She said, you think she's a drug dealer sitting at the dining room table with tweezers, putting these seeds in these little glassine envelopes, and then mailing them to Texas or wherever else is at, and they just trade seeds.
Yeah, no, that's a good hobby and interest to be in. I
Yeah,
just my
so
wife tried to get into it. She wasn't good.
I took her away from her hobby.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's saving you $200. How does she feel about
it
that?
did save me $200. Um, so we'll have to see what the future holds.
Yeah, I was going to ask
Um,
you that, having such a good showing, in the city council race, and having heard so many good things about you from people, both Democrats and obviously Republicans. I was wondering, and I was going to ask you, what were your future plans? And, you know, um, you're looking maybe at something like you mentioned District 5 or anything else, in
yeah,
politics or,
we're gonna see. Like right now, I'm just gonna look to to comment on things that are out there. I saw this community choice aggregation plan as a problem for residents of Yonkers, so I put something out there. I will be talking about Yonkers, um, the capital plan amendment for $6.85 million additional. I don't think it's the right time to be doing this. I think you put it into next year's capital budget. Um, so I'll probably write something on that tomorrow,
yeah, I was going
and
to ask you, maybe you write an article in the Yonkers Tribune again, and maybe have, I'm sure you'll have a lot of details as to exactly, 'cause I'm curious to know what it is that they're spending the money on exactly.
yeah,
Where's the money
I'll
being
put something
allocated?
out. I put it in the Tribune because they're willing to publish.
Yeah,
They
as long as
don't.
we get to read it.
Well, they don't depend. The Yonkers Times depends on the clerk's office for
Right.
revenue. So I may or may not get an article in there.
The Yonkers Times is the official Yonkers newspaper of the city of Yonkers. In case anyone didn't know that, so maybe that's why you're Republican, right?
But I will say
And
during
you
the
ran against
campaign,
Lakeisha
look, Dan was very good. Dan Murphy runs the Yonkers Times, Yonkers Rising.
and Yonkers Rising,
Dan
correct?
was very good to me during the campaign. He didn't take sides. He did endorse Lakeisha at the end, but he gave an opportunity for me to speak. He interviewed me. Eric Schoen was very good, who does the Yonkers Rising radio show. Invited us both on his show to meet. So I will say during the campaign they were both fair. Uh,
Yeah,
but
I've always seen the Yonkers Times. From what I've read, he's always seemed to be fair. Dan Murphy. I've never, Yonkers Tribune a little bit, which I'm surprised he does. But yeah, he's always seemed to be fair. And I recently picked up a paper in a store. I was in Yonkers Rising, and I grabbed one to check it out. So and I thought it was pretty good. And it seemed fair and stuff like
oh,
that.
you were in the Rising.
I'm sorry.
You were in the Rising.
No, I picked it. I just saw. I
Oh, I
saw.
thought
Yeah, I
okay.
went to the store one day. I was going to get something to drink, and I saw it there, and I grabbed it just to check it out. I hadn't seen one before. I said, "Oh, look at that!" So I grabbed it, and I took a
Yeah,
look
you
at it,
get
and I
them.
thought it was fair.
They're in the diners or in the pharmacies.
Yeah, there's a guy one in the deli on Palisade Avenue. There is where I stopped and I picked it up.
Egg sandwich.
No, actually, I was just getting an apple juice. I'm an apple juice guy. Really, reality is that they will negotiate to ensure that their current elected officials will be in a better position to win elections. An example is the 4th district will allegedly pick up more of the Bronx River Road, which will make the district more democratic. Are you
Well,
concerned with that as a
well,
Republican?
um, so I honestly think the fourth district is not that much a Democrat. John John Rubo's had a following there,
Mm,
um, because John ran there as a Republican. He ran against
right.
Maeve. Um, he only beat Maeve by about 100 votes or so. She had a really good showing as well. And what I found in walking, I walked that district with Justin Tubiolo, and Justin has a really good handle on that neighborhood as well. I really think it's how much community engagement you have
Yeah,
with that community. I don't
yeah,
think it's so much Republican or Democrat, but it's really getting out and doing things for the community and being involved.
yeah.
Um, I
I'd have
met,
to agree to that.
I met with the folks from the Hyatt. Every neighborhood or group is different unto its own. Um,
Yeah,
so
Justin does have a good handle on I don't want to say like a good handle. I mean, he has a good relationship, I
yeah,
should say. He
he's
with the neighborhood. He's
well,
mentioned a few businesses
we
and people specifically. He really is involved, and he knows a lot about the community.
we walked door to door after Ida. It was just maybe a week after Ida, and then again 3 weeks after Ida. And he knew every problem that everybody had in that neighborhood,
Yeah,
and he's really a good community leader.
yeah,
And
yeah.
he
I
doesn't
like I
run
like
for office because David runs for office. David's
right.
in office, so he doesn't want to. I guess one to Biolo's enough.
Well,
Um,
David also, I mean, he has a really good, relationship with the community as well. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
they
David, you know,
really into the community.
somehow David became Irish while he was there. You know, so I see him at all the Irish. But by the way, there's a St. Patrick's Day parade this year. So so
Yeah.
far,
Yeah, but
so it's good. We're getting parades back and community events back, and hopefully
and we
what
need
we
some
got.
of the teachers back, right? I hear we have staff shortages and shortages in
Yeah,
other areas.
that's all. Look, this Omicron variant has hit pretty hard, but it might wind up being a natural vaccine. I did hear a report on the radio that there was a study that said that Omicron provides antibodies for Delta.
It's strange. Strange. It's all strange. I'm no medical expert, but it's all
I know.
strange.
I work for a medical college, so I deal with a lot of this on calls. And this didn't come out
Yeah.
of a call; it came out of a report on Bloomberg Radio. But look, I wore a mask, not really tight or anything, but I still got it. I'm triple vaccinated. I didn't get it bad. I didn't get it. My wife didn't get it. I tested. I got it. We tested her a few days later. Got it. She's downstairs now with a cold. Um, we tested her. It's just a cold. It's not COVID.
So, and you were actually physically sick. You felt the,
Yeah, but it was all upper respiratory. That's why I know it was Omicron. It was all from here up. Um, and I
well,
wasn't. I was just exhausted mostly.
it's good to see that you're okay and that you're, didn't get it too bad. I actually know someone who was in a coma, although he had a lot of other health issues, but he was in a coma for 17 days.
Well,
Hydrochloroquine, actually, they gave him.
and I think that's it. I think if you have underlying conditions, that's when
Yeah.
you have problems. Same
Yeah.
thing with the flu. If you get the flu and you're diabetic and you're overweight, and you people die from the flu as well.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
you really it's I turned 60 on Wednesday, by the way.
Oh,
So it's
happy
important.
birthday.
Thanks.
If I don't get to say, but happy birthday.
Thanks. It's important, as the last 10 years, I've really just tried I'm not the healthiest person in the world, but I've really tried, to kind of maintain my weight. I quit smoking. Um, and I want to be around for a while. So I
Yeah.
think it's important to
Exercise and moving around, not so much, lifting weights, but just,
no, no,
walking.
I've got a treadmill in the basement,
Yeah.
and I'll do 20 minutes in the morning before I go to work.
Yeah. The secret to long life is, I don't know what it's called, but they do it down in the city sometimes early in the morning. The
Well,
Asian Americans,
yeah,
it's
it's
kind of
Tai
this.
Chi. Tai Chi.
Yes, Tai Chi. Yes, that's what it is. And there was a gentleman who lived to be over 120 years old, actually, and his secret was Tai Chi
Yeah, no,
and resting a
there's
lot.
so yoga's very good too. There was a woman, I don't know if I hope she's still alive, at the Jewish Community Center in New Rochelle. She was like, they did an article on her 2 years ago. She was 98 and she was still a yoga teacher.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get your blood
So
flowing, your bones and stuff, and your all that stuff circulating, so you don't get stiffed and
I mean,
just go.
you're a young guy. You're in pretty good shape. You don't smoke.
No, I do smoke actually.
Oh, you do.
Yeah, I try to not, I don't smoke as a pack a day. It's not that bad, but I still do smoke. It's still bad. My wife hates it. She's trying to get me to stop. So
Yeah, that was the one thing. If I could go back, the one thing I would have wished I could do is quit smoke, not have started.
yeah. Well, and I tried to, when I got my life insurance policy, I didn't tell them about it. I didn't realize they can actually tell from
It
work.
shows up on a blood
I
test.
didn't
Yeah.
know that, so I told them I did it, and that just jacked my premium up.
Yeah,
But
yeah. No, I've quit for up to a year before and gone back.
yeah,
It just, it's they say it's as addictive as heroin.
yeah, yeah,
That's why I don't want to try the gambling on the phone.
yeah. Well, I know guys that are addicted to the gambling on the phone. They're addicted to the gambling in those little machines in the stores, and and spend a lot of money. My uncle spends about $40 a day on the daily numbers in the lotto, and nothing
Yeah, I
from
know
it for years.
it all comes down to the rise in endorphins. You get
Yeah,
that a little bit of something to give you a thrill,
that's
and
it.
you get those endorphin levels up.
When I was a kid, really quick before I let you go, I'll tell you a story. My
Yeah.
my grandfather used to send me to there was the numbers guy, did the numbers and stuff, and he would send me with a wad of money to this guy. Sometimes I walk it up to the guy. Sometimes he'd drop a bucket down from the window and then reel it in. But I watched my grandfather day and night spend so much money. He was a cab driver, so he would have cash on him. And he just, I looked at it and I said, we grew up on Buena Vista. I said, he could have bought one of these buildings at least, and we would have been doing good by now, right?
Yeah, it's too. Look, I told you I owned a bar in Lockwood. And there was a bookie actually right down the block from. I was at 72 Lockwood.
I think I know you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, right. If you drove off the highway, you drive right through it.
Yeah.
Actually, my partner used to own your place back in the 90s when it was the Bryn Mawr Tavern.
Right. Yeah. It caught fire right here. That's what
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Someone said it caught fire. It was 2 levels. It caught fire. Then they made it to a single level
Well, it wasn't
building.
2 levels. It was, it was kind of 2 half levels. It was stepped up. The bar was on the upper level, and there was a stage for bands on the lower level.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, because we still do have that there. We
Yeah,
did the step up.
it was kind of a bucket of blood back then too. But there was a bookie up the block. There was a little grill up the block, and I'd see a lot of people, get their paycheck, go up there.
Yeah. Yeah, my grandfather spent a lot of money. That was actually an issue that my grandmother had with him, as much money as he spent. And he would win, but that's how they keep you there. Sometimes you win, but you spend more than you win, right?
Well, it's always, the odds. Look, I went for a master's in data analytics at Baruch, and we would do that whole thing with the odds.
Yeah.
And when you take the stats and you divide it all out, the odds are always to the house at about 52, 53%. And that's the good odds. That's if you got a chance of winning, you're at 52 and 53%. All the video games that they have at the raceway, it's all computer generated. That you got that 52 to 53%, sometimes 55. Even slot machines with the physical wheels, it's already predetermined before you spin.
Yeah, that's why I don't play this stuff. I'm like, this stuff is programs, it's digital stuff.
There's no luck in there. It's predetermined before you spin.
Yeah, I went in once to Empire Casino, and I've gone to those places in Florida. They would have the casino cruise. So I've been once or twice. That's just for the fun of it. And I always go with like $20, right? Where everybody else spend $100. I'm here with $20, and I spent my $20, and then I just hung around and watched my friend lose his money. And then as we were leaving, I see someone coming in, and they just go, look, put $5 into the first machine as they walked in, hit for $300.
So I
just like, how does that happen? I
learned from my grandfather. What my grandfather used to do, the old people, they retire and then they take that bus down to Atlantic City.
Yeah.
So he would take whatever, and usually wasn't more than $20 to $40. He would take that, he'd put it in his left pocket, and he'd put his winnings in his right pocket. When his left pocket was empty, he was done.
Yeah.
Regardless of what was in his right pocket.
Yeah, some people don't have that discipline. I've seen many people win money and then lose it all before they leave.
Put it right back in.
Yeah, and it's an addiction. That's why I'm not too fond of that idea. Well, what am I gonna do? Well, Ron, I appreciate it. There's anything else you'd like to mention before I let you go here?
Freddie, it's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. And anytime you got a message or anything you'd like to speak about something, give me a call or shoot me an email or text. I definitely, we'll talk about it. We can get on the show and discuss it, because this is what the show is for. It's really to bring out information. I do some stuff that entertains people a bit. They really like that stuff a lot, but really the purpose is for information and, to bring awareness. So I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing that.
You may want to come. You may want to come to the council meeting on Tuesday, because there's an open meeting for people to talk.
Absolutely.
And then they're going to take a vote on the capital budget.
Absolutely. I will actually be there. I think it's an important meeting to attend and to speak about. So I appreciate that information there, Ron. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you joining the show. Have a great weekend. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a good night. And that was Ron Madden there. Ran for city council president in the past election and didn't do too bad, actually. Did well. A lot of people have a lot of good things to say about Ron. I have mentioned about Ron and running for the 5th district and joking and seeing his signs there. And I've also brought up the letter that was written to the city council, which supposedly was the basis for the investigation. However, some say it was actually the article that was the basis itself, and that the investigation was already moving forward before receiving the letter. But overall, Ron Manton is a good guy. He has a lot of information. He's a very smart guy. He has a lot of good ideas. He's a Republican. However, if anyone knows me by now, that means nothing to me. Democrat, Republican means nothing. It's based on the person and their merit, their track record, what they've done. And a few times that I've had sat down with Ron and spoken to him, I like the ideas. I liked what he had to say. And again, he's going to the meeting this Tuesday, and I think it's very important that everyone either watches the meeting or attend if they can. It's a meeting for the city seeking to bond $6.8 million for police equipment, and other parks equipment, to renovate parks and to buy police equipment such as scanners and other security equipment. I know recently the city purchased some body cams for the officers, and now they're seeking another $6.85 million for police equipment and upgrades to the parks. Although I'm confused because that's something that they mentioned that the developers would be involved in, beautifying the city, improving the parks. And so, here we go. The city's having to put itself into debt, another $6.85 million. Maybe they're taking advantage of that upgrade from Moody's and say, hey, we got an upgrade now. Our credit is a lot better. Let's go utilize good credit and borrow more money. And look, if it's very much needed, then it's needed. However, I think that we should be actually, fully aware of exactly where that money is being allocated. What is it that the police departments actually need to combat crime? Is that going to prevent further shootings here in the city, as we've seen erratic shootings? Is that going to bring crime down? Is that going to reduce the crime? I mean, what is the trade-off for this, money that the city is looking to spend? Because ultimately, it is you and I, the taxpayer, that are on the hook. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. Thank you, Ron Manton, for joining me, and I will be on tomorrow. I'm going to tell you, tomorrow I'm going to be discussing the council member from District 1, Councilwoman Shanae Williams, and the recent shootings that happened in her district. They were suicides, actually. One of them, a gentleman committed suicide, unfortunately, committed suicide at 74 Warburn Avenue. And then very recently, 52 Main Street, there was an attempted suicide by cop. Gentleman called police, had police come to the home, where I believe he shot at cops. They shot back. They hit him in the calf. One officer was rushed to Jacoby Hospital after being injured from a jump, maybe to avoid being hit by a bullet. But obviously, this was a case of a person suffering from mental health. The gentleman, the individual that shot himself at 74 Warburn, suffering from mental health and other, traumas and other struggles that he may be going through. So, what are the council members and the city doing in order to address the mental health issues that is plaguing the city? I should say the drug addiction, and that's also plaguing the city. As young people, this is young people that are having that are dealing with the drug addiction, that are homeless, that are having the mental health issue. The gentleman that shot himself, or that was attempting to get to be suicide by cop, was only 24 years old. So very young, and he didn't want to live anymore. Why is that? And what are they doing? What is the city doing to address the mental health needs of many of the individuals that are here? And again, they're young, and a lot of the individuals, that are suffering from the mental health and that are addicted to drugs, are found in the District 1 area, near Getty Square. 52 Main Street is in that area, 74 Warburg. And I found it interesting in my research today that council member Shanae Williams is the chairperson of the Community and Mental Health Services Committee here in the city of Yonkers. So I asked the council member after she made a comment on one of my posts. It was a post on Instagram where I used some of the Majority Leader Tasha Diaz's vocals, and I did a remix to The Who's Teenage Wasteland. It's pretty good. Go check it out. Anyway, she asked what was the context of this about, and that she doesn't, isn't going to get into all that stuff, because she is there to simply represent her constituents and her district to the best of her ability. Well, you are the chairperson as well as the district representative. You are the chairperson of the Community and Mental Health Services Committee. And you had one suicide and one attempted suicide by cop in your district. Drug addiction running wild in your district. Mental health issue in your district. I'm giving out cards to people in your district because they're asking for help. That's your responsibility. So what are you doing? So can you understand the post? Political games that are being played. What are you guys actually doing? How can you be the chairperson of the Community and Mental Health Services Committee, yet do absolutely nothing for mental health? Not speak on it. Obviously, the gentleman who wanted to get killed by the police was suffering from mental health. Were you there? Have you spoken with the family? Are you trying to help the individual get the help that they obviously need? And what else are you guys doing to address the mental health crisis plaguing the city of Yonkers? So now, do you understand, council member? I will be talking more about that tomorrow at 9 o'clock on my show, Basement Politics, Unfiltered. We'll discuss all about council member Shanae Williams. How did she get her start? Who's her strategist? How did she get funding for her campaign? And why did she run against Tim Iadoni for Westchester County Clerk? If you got a lot to do in District 1. She lost to Tim Iadoni, which most people knew that would happen. And her response was, thank you, everyone. For the first time, I know what it feels like to fail. Really? That was the first time? Basement Politics with Freddie Vasquez. Thank you for joining me tonight. Please be sure and join me tomorrow at 9, where I will be discussing District 1, Council Member Shanae Williams, and the Community and Mental Health Services Committee. What are they doing here for President of the City of Yonkers? How are they looking to address the mental health issues that we are seeing here in the city of Yonkers, as well as the drug epidemic plaguing many of our young people? I will put you to the test. Join me tomorrow. And by the way, I will try to make the shows consistently at 9 o'clock. I'm hearing folks say they love the show. I just need to be more consistent with the time. Well, I have to fit it in where I can, but I will try to be more consistent. So join me tomorrow at 9. Basement Politics Unfiltered. New episode. My first time failing. Join me. Thank you, folks. Have a good evening.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
No!